Well, this is why I'm going to cry. I told you.
What happened?
Life, I guess, happened. I actually had cleared out most of my debt prior, and then I found out that my line of credit was still open, and I was like, oh, I need to use it. And of course, I like to travel. I'm not frivolous or anything like that, but life just happened, and then it got to the point where I just felt like I was drowning a little bit. And when I went in for my appointment, I was told that actually my debt was fairly minimal in comparison to maybe other people my age, and definitely much less than somebody who was maybe a bit older than I was. And my circumstances were also, I didn't have kids or anything like that. I didn't own a house, so it would be a relatively simple thing to take care of, and it was good that I was doing it at that point. So, but yeah, I guess it's just life happens, and sometimes things spiral a little bit, and then you realize it, and then you try to fix it, but you can't fix it on your own. Sometimes you just need to ask for help. Well, I was looking at myself differently. My partner at the time was actually very good with money. I grew up with not a lot of money, and my mom was very, very good with money. She was very resourceful, she's very practical, and I was never wanting for anything. I don't know, I felt like I let myself down a little bit. I mean, I was still doing what I wanted to do and living as I wanted to live, but it wasn't so much about what I felt other people were thinking about me, it was more about me. So, and I think that's sort of the struggle we all have, regardless of whether it's about debt or other problems that are happening in our lives, is at the end of the day, it's about how we feel about ourselves, and until we change that or do something to change that, it's very difficult to feel better about it.
Do you think that it's sort of like a burden that you carry, and it's sort of there all the time?
Yes.
Talk about how you felt about it being there.
It just felt very heavy, and that I just kept going in a circle. Like making payments when I could, definitely making my minimum payments and doing a little bit more when I could, but that's hard because you're cycling back, because you need to spend money on things. You need to pay your rent, you need to pay bills, you need to do things. And when that gets a little bit too much, I remember going to my bank because I wanted to get a consolidation loan, and because I had paid my phone bill late one time, my bank wouldn't give me a consolidation loan. And that was very frustrating, and that was when I was like, okay, well, there must be an alternative way to do this, because there just must be. And I remember seeing ads for the Credit Counseling Society on the SkyTrain and on the bus, but that was sort of still in the back of my head. And I don't think that bank appointment was my sort of turning point as such. I don't remember what it was, but I remember the year that I went in for my appointment, it was summertime, and I just decided to do it. I was turning 30 that year, and I wanted to be an adult without debt. And so I went in and I did it. So I don't know that there was a specific turning point per se, but something clicked in me.
Do you remember the moment that do you remember your first call?
I can't remember if I signed up online, like via email, or if I did it over the phone to make my appointment. But I remember my first appointment, and I remember completely falling apart. And he gave me this big box of Kleenex, because clearly this happens a lot. People cry. And and I just remember thinking it was going to be okay. It was going to be a lot of hard work, but it was going to be okay eventually.
So you walked away from your first meeting feeling uplifted, changed?
I felt relieved. I don't know if I felt uplifted or changed, but definitely relieved. I felt like I had taken step one to solving my problem. I didn't really start to feel uplifted about anything until probably like the last year of it, because it's like, okay, this is happening, this is good. I can start thinking about things that I've been putting on the back burner for myself, because if I have a monthly payment that I need to take care of, it's basically rent at the end of the day. It's just another kind of rent, but I need to focus on that and keep my eye on the prize, and then I can start thinking about the other things that I would like to do. That being said, I didn't let this limit what I wanted to do in life. I just had to be a little bit more realistic about what I was going to do. So like travel, for example. I still did my yoga teacher training. I got much better at saving money. Like it was all a good thing, but I just didn't let it limit me.
Do you, so it wasn't one big step. What you're saying to me is it really was a series of steps, wasn't it?
Yes. It wasn't just one giant leap. It was probably baby steps. I'm not good at the one giant leap. I need to know what's going on, so I need to take one step, figure it out, figure out the big picture, and then take the steps to get to that final goal. Yes, and I also think that people hide from the things that they're ashamed of. If I was fully hiding, I probably wouldn't have been making any payments whatsoever and just let it pile up, but it got to the point where those minimum payments weren't good enough for me anymore, and that's when I felt like I was drowning, so I got help.
How was the process overall?
It took a little bit longer than I thought it would, not in a bad way, but in your mind you're just like, okay, this is going to happen, and then there's process. There's paperwork you need to set up. The deal or whatever, the negotiation needs to happen with your creditor or creditors, and all the pieces need to line up before you actually start. So it was probably, 2 to 3 months before I officially was making my monthly payments. And then it's been, I guess, just over 4 years, something like that. I finished paying early, so that was really nice. I was very proud of myself. But of course you're done and you make your final payment, and then you still need to wait a little bit because you need to get the official pieces of paper back that say, yes, you are officially done. Life, I guess, happened. I had actually cleared off most of my debt before, but then my line of credit was still open and I didn't want to use it, but then, I wanted to travel. I didn't used to be very good with saving money, and you always think that you will just pay down your line of credit and whatever it is. So yeah, it was just life, and sometimes those things stockpile, and I didn't ignore it by any means, but it just got to be too much. I felt like I was drowning a little bit, and that's a very heavy feeling to have because my old boss used to call me a duck. So basically you're like serenely floating along the water, but you're furiously paddling underneath the surface. And I felt like I was paddling much too fast, and I needed to slow that down, and because I couldn't do it by myself. So
what made you finally take that step to move forward?
I was turning 30, which wasn't really something that initially bothered me very much, but I just wanted to not be in debt anymore. I wanted to not be making just minimum payments anymore. My bank denied a consolidation loan, which was very frustrating because there really was no reason for that at the end of the day, and I couldn't do it by myself. And I remember seeing ads. There's that little red man on the person's back, and it grows, and that's how I was feeling. And I saw ads for that on the bus and on the SkyTrain, and that was just kept staying in the back of my mind. And then finally I decided to make an appointment. So
initially, did you feel you were alone?
yes, I did, because I don't know about anybody else, but I have a lot of pride, which sometimes gets in my way, and I wanted to be able to fix the problem myself, but something like debt is something that you actually need help with, so you need to be able to swallow your pride and ask for help. But that's frustrating. For example, with my situation, when I went to my bank and I said, hey, is there something that we can do about this so that I can have one payment? And then they said no. But it was very nice to know that there was another option, and that was this.
Was it big steps or little steps?
I think the biggest step was actually making my appointment and saying, this is what I'm going to do. And then it was just a bunch of little steps after that, and that's not partly because I need to take those little steps for myself to see the big picture, but also because there's process involved. It's not just sign up and that's it. There, you need to get some paperwork done, and everybody needs to be on board across all sides. So it was just a bunch of little steps.
Now that you've sort of achieved your goal, how do you feel?
I feel much lighter than I have in a very, very long time. It's a nice feeling. So,
is there a sense of freedom?
oh, there's a huge sense of freedom. All these little things that I've been wanting to do for myself, I can actually properly start thinking about them. Those are things that can fit into my budget now, which is really exciting. That being said, in the time that I've been on this debt management program, I've still been able to do things that I love to do, like travel. I did my yoga teacher training, which was really important to me. I just got better at saving money.
Why are you sharing it?
Because I think it's important for people to realize that it's okay to ask for help, and not just for your debt. Like, just in general, it's okay to ask for help. And I think more so in that I was told I was fairly young to be asking for help with my debt. And I think that as you go through your 20s and you come into your 30s, you've maybe gone to school, you've done traveling, or whatever it is that you've had going on in your life, and maybe you have kids now, and debt piles up. Like, everybody has it, but it just depends how you're feeling about it, I guess, and how you're managing with it and what your situation is. But you just need to be not afraid to ask for help, even just to do like a little bit of research about it, because there might be a way to make things easier. It was fine. It was a little bit longer than I thought it was going to be, but that's because there's a process to it. You don't just walk in there and say, I'd like to sign up for this program. Like, they need to look at your situation and what's going on, and there's a lot of paperwork, and your creditor or creditors need to be on board with it. And then there's more paperwork, and then you finally start your payments, and it was fine. I felt very supported in the process, which is nice. You have your person that you initially see, and then you have a counselor that you can check in with, or they check in on you. And then there's the person who manages like your payments and stuff like that. So I definitely felt very supported in the process, which was nice. So I didn't feel alone. I think it's important because debt is not exclusive to anybody. But I don't think that when we think of debt, that we think of maybe a younger person. Like, I'm in my early 30s, and I decided the year I turned 30 that I would get rid of my debt because I wanted to be an adult without debt. But I don't know that. I think it's important for people to know that it's okay to ask for help for things like this. And I say that not just because I had a very good experience with it, but also because you need to not be afraid to ask for help when you feel like you're drowning. And that's not solely exclusive to debt. But I feel so much lighter, and I feel a great sense of freedom with this, and I feel like everybody needs to be able to feel this if they know where to go in order to help themselves with that. And that's so important. So I want to share that with people, that it's okay to ask for help, and that you don't need to be ashamed of your debt or whatever it is. There is a way to get rid of it. Do it sooner. I wish that I'd done it much sooner. I wish that I'd listened to the little voice in the back of my head that was like, you have that little red man on your back right now. You should make an appointment. Set yourself up for success a little bit earlier with your finances. I think what prevented me from asking for help sooner was pride, and also the sense of shame that I had. I knew that asking for help wasn't a bad thing and that it would help me, obviously, but sometimes you need to do a little internal work before you can actually make that step and swallow your pride.
Do you think that there exists a stigma against admitting debt?
Oh, absolutely. You don't want people to think that you were irresponsible or that something happened, or you don't want people to think anything about you at the end of the day. You don't want people to think negatively of you. You just want people to think it's all, sunshine, lollipops, and rainbows. But as I've learned over the last few years, not just because of my debt, being real is very important. And debt is very real, and it's something that you can get help for. And there's nothing wrong with that. I was very happy when I realized that. They send you a monthly statement that says how you're doing and what your next payment is and all this other stuff. And I was very fortunate in the last year-ish that I was able to make larger payments towards my goal, which was very nice because I was determined to finish early. And while I didn't finish as early as I would have liked to, I still knew I was going to finish early, and I was very excited. And I thought I actually had a little bit more, like I had spreadsheet and all this other stuff, but I got that email and I was so excited. I printed it off and I brought it home to show my partner. I just had one more payment, and it was much less than I thought it was going to be, and it was very exciting. It was great. I felt, even though I hadn't made that payment yet, I was very excited to make it because I knew that was it. I could delete everything off my spreadsheet. It was very exciting. So, shame, pride, a little bit of helplessness, I think, because it's there, and if you don't know how to make it go away or how to take the steps to do that, it's very easy to feel helpless in that. And sad, I think. Sadness is probably associated with debt. I feel a very big sense of freedom and relief and excitement because I finally get to make some things a reality for myself that I could only think about. I still got to do things that I enjoyed while I was paying off my debt, but I had to be a little bit more realistic, and I had to be very resourceful, and I'll continue to be that way, but it just means that there's so much more opportunity for me now to enjoy my life a little bit more because I've gotten rid of that heavy weight that was sitting on my shoulders, and so that's very exciting for me.